Dude. And we're
that note. But on that note, I'm going to say hello, everybody, and welcome to Nerd Culture. I'm your host for tonight, Travis Troller, and today I have none other than Chris Hemsworth. No, it couldn't be. Oh, it's the cooler version of Thor. It's Thomas Carter Rochester. How you doing, bud?
I am doing well. How are you, you beautiful haired man?
I know. Look at it. It dances back there. When I stop moving, it keeps going. So, oh, it's just fantastic. It keeps the party going, you know. Business in the front, party in the back. It's the other. It's the other version of a mullet. So you know.
Yeah.
I can tell you're on board, bud. I can tell you're on board.
Mullets were never in style. I have told that to my dad.
That is debatable.
and my dad is like, were they though? And I was like, I don't think so. He's like, didn't you want a mullet? And I was like, only because I thought it was just long hair like you. But now I see you basically had a mullet because you had bangs, bro.
Yeah, but then he's like, it's good when like you bring it up. It's like, were they really in style? And then he shows you like a picture, and he's wearing like a full denim suit, and like the top 4 buttons are undone. He's like, yeah, does that answer your question? I'm like, yes, and it's a no.
He definitely wore stuff like that.
Yeah, denim was the style. I'm pretty sure there's a picture of my dad somewhere wearing full denim. So, yeah, we'll digress on that one.
Is your dad's name Dan?
No, it's Jake, but originally it's Thomas. It's a very confusing past.
Denim Jake Thomas.
Yeah, good old Jake Tommy boy Tom. You know, he couldn't settle on one, so he just took them all. So there you go. He took after you. He was just like, one of these days you're gonna know a Thomas, and I want you to remember me like him. Dad? Oh my God, it's you. But anyway,
time is relative. So
time is so relative. And then speaking of time, while I have you here, I want to just reiterate to people that are probably, you know, either in the chat or watching live or watching on our YouTube channel. We are going to be talking the topic for tonight, acting, and that can vary from any which way. Specifically, I want to get into the world of acting, the profession, if you will, because a person like me, I consider myself the next bar below amateur actor. I'm humble enough to give myself that. I've always been curious about the world of acting and just kind of like what goes into it, and just I thought it'd be interesting to bring Thomas here on because he has a little bit of a repertoire with the acting and filming world. So I wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit about that and just your experiences, you know, maybe some funny stories along the way, and just, you know, general questions. One being specifically the one that's probably you've been asked before, which is, how did you get into the start of acting? Like what was that moment that like sparked, you know, like, dude, this would be cool. I think I could do this, you know? Like what was that moment for you?
Wow, what was that moment? That's a $8 million question, which I wish I could get $8 million right now. Honestly,
cash it in.
The one where it kind of stabbed me right in the heart and was like, dude, this is awesome, was when I started doing stage stuff in college. I was an orientation leader. I planned orientation for new students, and I decided, because the year before everything got rained out, and I was like, well, this year, why don't we have a rain plan? Why don't we just do the Price is Right inside the auditorium? And like, I'll put it together. I'm already done with all my other work. I'll just make this game out of scratch. And then we ended up, after a while, just decided to axe everything that was supposed to be outside and do that as our finale. Which at that point I was like, oh, well, now I have to actually host this. And it was the first time I had ever actually been in front of like a crowd and wanted to be in front of a crowd.
You wanted to be in front of a crowd?
Yes. See, before, I'm actually a very shy human being. So growing up, my sister was the actor, the singer, the entertainer. And I was the kid who would cry in the seats because I could feel everyone else's like nerves. And I'm like, I could never do this. How do I do this?
High five, buddy. Right.
And then one day they're like, you're doing the Price is Right. And I was like, well, I got 3 suits. Let's do it. And by that point, I'd really just started taking every presentation as a joke. I was like, I'm going to get an A on this stupid presentation. So I'm going to put 5 minutes of prep into the presentation, write down 5 bullet points, and then make jokes until I linked them together. And that's basically what I did for the Price is Right. And it kind of worked out. And right after, someone was like, hey, why don't you join improv? And I was like, I don't have an excuse anymore. I guess I've now been on stage. Okay, I'll be there Tuesday. And I started doing improv comedy in college. And that's where it all, in my heart, I was like, I could do this forever. Because it was the first time since I'd played football that I had the adrenaline rush and the juice and just the instantaneous, I am in the zone and I don't know how I got here and I don't know how I'm going to get out of here and I don't know what I'm saying next, but whatever it is, it's going to be something wild. And it turned into just continuing to do that as improv comedy. And then after taking a year to find myself after college, I was like, oh, acting. Yeah, I mean, it was a long year. It wasn't even a year, was it? No, it wasn't even a year.
It took me 5 minutes. I had my stuff figured out pretty quick.
It might have been like 9 months or 6 months, but before I got to acting, it was over a year and 16 months after I graduated is when I had my first acting gig.
Okay, so before jumping into that, so what I find very interesting, because usually this isn't the story with people I talk to that are like trying to get into acting and doing all that. You kind of had a trial by fire in a way,
yes,
when getting into it, which is very like a lot of people are like, whoa, I want to plan this a little bit, but you just kind of like were given an opportunity where it's you're this nervous kid. You just don't think you have the passion for it or like the want to do it or the confidence, and somebody just says, just practically push you on stage and goes, do it, go. And you just kind of like, you just hit the mark and you just went. And then I can understand from that aspect, like the adrenaline, that was the key thing you said, because the nervousness that I would imagine that comes out of that like, you know, it's like kind of like that fight or flight thing. Like, do I stay here and push through or do I run away? Like that can be kind of addicting to some people. And that's probably where some of the love comes from, but because it's like the thrill of every project. Yep. In a way. So I find that very, very interesting. And then you went on saying that you had the first gig. Now, was this a gig that you actually sought out for, or was it kind of like through, you know, like people that you knew? Like, did you have to network at all? Or like, did this kind of fall into your lap, or did you start going searching for this work?
I actually went searching. I graduated in like December of 2014. And it took me about 6 months to make the decision to not go back to grad school and to instead pursue entertainment because I knew I loved doing that. Mm-hmm. And the thing that kind of told me I could get into entertainment was going to a convention and meeting people from Arrow and Power Rangers. And I was like, I am taller than them and I am definitely bigger than them. Like I would look like a giant compared to them on a small or like in a small frame. So I was like, well, I thought I always had to be 6 foot to be an actor, but obviously I don't. So I don't have any excuses anymore. So let me try this out. Was my thought, but then I got drunk and, you know, things happen and I forgot that. So I tried stand-up comedy, did some podcasting, made some of my own Thor videos actually like 5 years ago. And
your reputation had to start somewhere. I mean, come on.
And it started with Thor. I mean, it really did. Most people didn't know my name. They just knew me as Thor because before I grew my hair out, I'd cosplay as Thor. And they're like, oh my God, you look like Thor. And I'm like, oh, and I sound like him too. And they're like, whoa. I was like, yeah.
That's the reaction. Everybody goes, whoa.
Whoa. Yes. And
oh, Alfred.
Eventually, how much of an impact did your acting journey have in your cosplay as Thor? It's the other way around, actually. Without cosplaying as Thor, I probably would have never gotten into acting and improv. When I started, the first couple times I dressed up as Thor, I didn't really have any jokes. I just kind of was like, yes, Thor, how about thee? Like I was pulling stuff from the comics. Mm-hmm. Then a couple of the movies came out and I was like, I mean, he's kind of funny. Like it kind of makes sense. But in 2015, well before Ragnarok was a thing, I started just being myself as Thor, but doing it in the Thor voice. Yeah. And then when Ragnarok came out, obviously Kevin Feige was like paying attention. And he's like, let's do this. But really what they do with Thor in Ragnarok in those movies is exactly my sense of humor. I think of myself as a nobody. And it's like, I'll do whatever I want. I have this great potential that I feel I have to live up to, but the weight of the world is really heavy. So I just brush it off and make fun of myself.
Kind of like a sense of fearlessness, just like, just do it and see what happens.
Yeah, I am very, very good at jumping into the deep end without my floaties. My dad had to save me a lot as a child. That is an actual anecdote. But I find that I do so much better when I just jump in head first, and then after a year or two, I'm like, hey, I'm treading water. I've been doing this for a while now. Accidents happen. But to get back on point, and I'll answer Jin's question at the same time. I had a friend whose family works in the filmmaking industry. His stepmom was a costume designer on the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, definitely 2, because I remember she helped create Electro, which is now big in the news. Mind blown, right? Yeah. Right.
See, hold on, but that's what blows my mind. So like the fact that like people always tell you, especially in this sort of business, like talk to people, get to know people, because then you get to network and like you'll find somebody who knows somebody. And you are one of the many people that I've run into that like will like kind of go down their story, and then they'll say like, yeah, so I knew this one person who did this and they did that. I'm like, wait, hold on, how are you just casually mentioning that?
Yeah.
Like that's ridiculous. Right? Like how? Like what?
Yeah. It's one of my fraternity brothers who I met in college well before I knew who I was. I mean, like I met him probably one of the first weeks that I was there. He's 2 years older than me. We ended up living together for 2 years. So I got to know some of his family. But when I wanted to get into acting, I was like, hey, I know that your family works in the entertainment industry. I'm thinking about being an actor. I was wondering if you could point me in the direction of someone who can just tell me some steps of what I need to do, what's important, and how to move forward. And he hooked me up with someone who he's like, yeah, this is my aunt. I mean, like not by blood, but we all have those. And he's like, yeah, I grew up around her. Yeah. And he's, her name was Eve Koch, or Eve, Koch. And I sent her, I called her and I talked on the phone with her, and I still have. It was written in Sharpie on a paper towel, and it's 5 bullet points of what I needed to do. And I started working towards that. And that was March of 16. And I believe it was a week later that I went to Orlando, because I used to live in Melbourne, Florida. And I went to Full Sail University, which, if you don't know, is a filmmaking school there in Central Florida. And I went there and I auditioned for 13 roles. Cold call, never had an audition before in my life. And I walked in there and I ended up with 2 roles, and I got them because of my improv skills and comedy. Obviously, the first one that I knew I was getting this one first, was a drug dealer.
Did you have the long hair at the time?
It was actually a little shaggier. Okay, lighting. I see you. It was growing in. And I had a really big beard, like down to my chest. It was
so basically Shaggy when the gang broke up.
Oh yeah,
and he needed to make ends meet.
Exactly. And I was just reading through the script. I read for the lead role, and then I read the line, his first line, and I was like, I want to play this character. And it was basically like, fucking A, dude. That was the line, and I was like, I can do that. And then I kept reading, and I did my audition. I was like, hey, is anyone reading for Flick? And they're like, no, why? I was like, I definitely want to audition for Flick. I was like, I don't know, man. That first line hooked me. And I was like, and then the rest of it, let's go. And they're like, oh, I was just going to do it. But yeah, dude, let's see what you got. And I did it. And they're like, bro, I'm going to tell you right now, you're probably Flick. If anyone else reads and they can beat you, you won't be. But we weren't planning on reading for Flick, but you definitely have that vibe. I was like, all right, man.
So that's what I find interesting. I've heard stories like that. So it's cool that we can address it here. So the idea of like going in for an audition, but then as you're reading for the role you were prepared for, you end up coming across another one that you're like, I think I fit this more. I think this is more of something along the lines of what I do. So I think you kind of answered the question of, it's not too far-fetched when, being somebody going for an audition that like, to take chances like that, like on the spot in front of them. Like if you're feeling like you want to go a direction with maybe one of the other characters, like propose it and see if you want to do it on the spot there. That's a norm.
I don't know if it's a norm, but I did it then.
And it just worked out. They were like, yeah, sure. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It just worked out. I mean, the character was perfect for me at the time. That was the start of my Hawaiian shirt vibes too. So I was,
long live Hawaiian shirts. Yes.
yeah, man, that
Never
was
die.
like, they will never die. I will make damn sure of that. But yeah, I honestly got lucky, and I don't know how to say it any other way. And when I was starting out, I hated hearing that from actors. It's like, sometimes you just got to be lucky. And I was like, I don't feel like I'm lucky at all. Like, look at my life.
I hear
and
that
then,
all the time. That's
yeah.
that's almost what all of them say, to be honest. That it makes it really hard to understand. Like, if you're trying to get into it, what am I supposed to do? And they're just saying luck. Well, like
Yeah.
what do I do to get lucky? Like,
Well, I mean, I can tell you right now that luck is just it. You're lucky because it's the odds. You end up playing the odds, and sometimes, I'm Han Solo. Never tell me the odds. But also, I'm 3PO, and I like to know the odds. So
yeah, you got to have both sides ready, so
Yeah.
that way, whatever direction hits you, be like, all right, I'm good. I'm going this route.
Yeah, exactly. So, really, it is luck, but the luck is just you're that one out of however many were auditioning, and you got cast,
Yeah.
or you were on their list, and these people couldn't for whatever reason, so the role ends up in your lap. And they liked you all, but they like these guys for different reasons, and then it falls on you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where the luck really is defined.
Yeah, you have to at least put your foot through the door in order for luck to have a chance to play.
Exactly.
So that brings me partially, because I want to dial back a half step. I'm actually quite curious if you're willing to share. You said with your roommate in college, her aunt but not aunt. We all have those. Yes.
Yes.
I bear with me. I forget the name. Eve Koch.
Yes.
Eve Koch. You said that she told you 5 things to write down that you need to do. I'm curious, what were those 5 things?
Off the top of my head, I do not remember, but they're the basics. So I know for a fact it was get headshots.
Okay, that was going to be a question of mine.
Yeah, get headshots. It's literally the calling card. That's the first thing that everyone will look at is a headshot. Then it was get footage and create a reel. Theater experience, which I did. That was the last thing I was a part of before I left Melbourne. Actually, I was like, I don't like doing theater, and I didn't want to sing. And so the first theater thing I did, I sang.
Just so you could have the experience under your belt. Like, yeah, I did that.
Yeah, I wanted to. I mean, I love musicals. I always have, but I am not comfortable singing in front of people because I'm a shower and a car singer, and I'm damn good in those places.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Like, come on.
But in front of people, I'm like, damn, there's people watching me. Like, that was the thing where I'd cry in the stands growing up. It was at music recitals because I was going to them my entire life because my sister was in singing well before I was born.
Yeah.
She's 6 years older. So that was the part where I always got the most nervous, but I'm shedding that. I've realized after I'd had a friend actually help me start singing and help train, because she's like, you can hit a lot of different ranges. And she's like, you also are pretty good at singing. You're just not trained at it. So you haven't done it properly long enough to build the muscles.
Yeah.
And I was like, those are all words that make sense.
Yeah, I could connect the dots on that.
Yeah, I can connect the dots. And so I ended up getting that role in singing. That was, I think that was 4 of them, right? That sounds right. And then get a SAG represented agent.
That was another
number 5.
That was another thing. It's unfortunate that one went away. I will read it off, but Terry's comment I want to get into and everything. He has there's a good question there. Have you had any callbacks? And if so, how did you approach them? The same as the original audition or different?
I have had callbacks. I am trying. I think I honestly, because this is where all the luck comes in, I think I've only had 2 or 3 callbacks. I've had a few where I go in, I audition, I get the part. Or I go in, I audition, and then someone else comes in and it fits their vision a little bit better and they go with them.
Yeah.
One was for a comedy that ended up in the Melbourne Independent Film Festival in Melbourne, Florida, which I was very excited to see that it made it. I was like, oh, I didn't get the role, and I understand why I didn't get the role. I was still very new. It was still very fresh. And when I saw that they were on there, I was like, I could have been in that. And I was like, but that's awesome that it's here and I get to see it. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see it, which really upset me because I loved the script. It was hilarious. And all I wanted to do was watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I will someday. I will find it on the interwebs and watch it.
Why can't you see it now? Is it just because it's currently going for film festivals, so it can't be publicly released?
Yeah. So normally what they do is they don't put it online because it actually hurts your film festival chances in larger ones.
Oh, okay.
So they want to hide that away so that, you can only see this movie here at the festival. So that way it entices more people to come in that area. So like I have friends in Central Florida. Y'all are up in the Maryland area. I got friends in Texas now, here in Panama City. And then because of college, I have friends now all over the world. And that helps me get a larger reach. So if they put a movie online, unless it's like on Amazon or something, it's basically just there for free. And then you can't get more butts and seats. And that's what film festivals are all about. That's how they make their money, is off tickets.
Yeah. I mean, definitely that process does make sense. I was always told that, like, from my past I have a small repertoire, but I've done film, small projects, whether I helped out a little bit or it's like, like maybe I helped write like a line or two or something. And that was always a thing, when you're done, you want to potentially send it off because there's nothing that makes a film look better than when you finally put it online and it has like nominations and, like awards you've won.
Yes.
To be like, hey, it's not just something I made. People are like, this is worth an award.
Yes.
So I can understand that. I never thought about the process of it, but now that you say it, it makes complete and utter sense. Like, why wouldn't you just be like, you can only watch it here, so buy the tickets?
Yeah, it took me a long time to figure that out myself. I don't think I still don't fully understand it. I'll be honest. I'm still learning. That is like the key to being an actor, is never, ever stop learning. Yeah. To answer the other part of Terry's question, how did I approach them? I definitely approached them differently, which I think is the issue, because all the callbacks I've gone back for, I've not gotten the roles, because I've thought about it more. And when I think about it more, I take myself out of the moment. And that kind of ruins the performance. So if I could do a callback now, I would go in and try and forget almost everything I did before and let it just happen. Like, let the improv part of my soul out, which is just sit there for 30 seconds, meditate for a moment, and then listen to what they're saying and let whatever happens. I just struggle with words. Like, I am actually very bad with words. I'm great with numbers, so that screws up my head. But memorizing lines is rather difficult sometimes. And then other times it's just like, oh yeah, I know this entire monologue already. Yeah. It's been 25 seconds. How? George's like, just lucky, I guess.
You just go hire me and you'll find out. I can tell you the secret. Just the charisma. Just they always say fake it till you make it. Be like, I've been here before, so put me in your shoes. Just all that good stuff. But I find that interesting. The fact of having an audition and then being called back for it, and like in a way, you say like kind of like not trying to get into your own head and overanalyzing like, oh boy, what did I do? How do I recreate that? You're saying to that you feel that personally, you trying to maybe go back and try to recreate what you did is what maybe was your downfall. So therefore you just like let everything go and just see what happens is usually kind of the best advice.
That is my advice to myself, for sure.
To yourself.
For sure. Every person is different. Mm-hmm. So what works for me is not going to work for you. And when it comes to, the biggest thing for acting is you're always learning. So you always are taking classes. You're always learning something new. I just downloaded DaVinci Resolve to do a little audio editing for a short film I was in that I was asked to put a little finishing touches on, because I have a weird ability to find a click in a 9-minute thing and then click out that click. I'm saying clicks, but I have this weird thing with sound, and I don't know how or why.
What do you mean by weird thing with sound? Like it's a weird passion you have?
I wouldn't say passion, but it's like a built-in analyzer that I'm like, that sounds weird. and I will
I see what you're
I'll do
saying.
some stuff and be like, whatever was sounding weird is no longer there. Success.
You
And
have the born ear of an audiophile. That's what it is.
I suppose so. I definitely know when something sounds wrong. I like to think of it because I hear pressure differences, pressure changes. I can feel it in my ears. I think
Really?
that, yeah, I have a. It's probably because I have some neck injuries. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
It's your superpower, man. Own it.
But I can pick something out, and I'm like, there is something weird about this.
Mhm.
Like Tenet. There's a couple spots where I'm like, I don't know if they want us to hear what they're saying, but all I hear is and it was very important right in the middle of a large dialogue sentence. And then I found out that it's like the 35 millimeter cut has a weird audio glitch in when they play it. So they had to send it back and send back digitals. So the audio was more clear and was a better mix. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm not insane. That's a good thing.
Great.
Huzzah!
Now I'm going to have to look out for it because I unfortunately have not seen that film yet. So I'll keep my eyes and ears out for it now. I want to be blown away by that film. So hopefully,
I think you will be.
I've seen snippets. I've seen stuff about the choreography and how they made everything actually like they didn't do any like just play an action scene in reverse. They actually tried to choreograph it out. So it was like that's interesting. It's kind of like dancing in a way, which actually brings up another question. Actually, I know the answer to this because I have looked at your little bit of your repertoire. Your IMDb is the technical word for it of your film stuff, and I actually saw some of your demo reel, and there was actually fight choreography on there. You fighting with another gentleman. I don't know his name, but you do have a little bit of experience with like duking it out on screen. What kind of experience is that? Like what kind of dynamic goes into that when you're trying to do a fight? Like what's the different mentality here? Like what's going through your head when you're doing that? Because I imagine that's different from just delivering a few lines back and forth between somebody.
Honestly, it's so much easier to me.
Easier?
I grew up playing football, so I have found out that I am a good dancer, but I am only good below the waist, and then I'm also good above the waist. But at the waist, there's a large disconnect of what's going on in the rhythm. I played offensive line, so everything in footwork, I'm just like, yeah, you just tell me how many steps where I need to roughly angle my foot, and I can get that. And they're like, that was a weird way to explain it. I'm like, I played football for 9 years. Just point, shoot, and my feet will do the work. So when it comes to fight choreography, whether it's fisticuffs, which that I believe you're talking about that you saw was with my good friend Ricardo Patino. Sorry, I said his full name, Ricky Patino. He's from Puerto Rico. He's a fight choreographer. I think he's a black belt in like 3 things. He's a total badass. But he and I met in Melbourne, and we ended up really clicking. And so we filmed that. And when it came to the hand-to-hand, it's all everything in fight choreography is about spacing, which compared to football is the same thing. In fight choreography, you are keeping distance while making it look like you're not keeping distance. Where in football, you are trying to utilize the closeness of your distance to create more distance from everyone else. And it's crazy how it works in reverse. But when it comes to like swords, which I love I love fisticuffs, but I love sword fights. And I was a part of the Ren Fair, and they are definitely not on IMDb, but I have them, and they are glorious. I'll have to send them to you. Yes. But I got to do. I was able to do 2 years of fight choreography with swords. The first year I was King Arthur, so I fought my friend Dalton. He played my son Mordred. Mordred,
you slimy son of a bitch.
And that was the best part of every day. I hated every other part, like internally, because how I designed King Arthur was, he picks up the sword out of the stone and it's an accident. He does not realize that he's supposed to be king. So he basically has being king thrust upon him instantaneously at like 12 years old. So mind you, at the beginning of the day, I'm playing a 12-year-old with a big old beard
They
And
all
I'm
grew
doing
up way faster back
and
then.
I'm
There's
doing
so
my
much.
high voices. Oh, good sir, please. I don't know whose sword. I need a sword. Like that was my
Yeah,
voice in the morning,
you
and then
play it off. Play it off. Be like, why do you have a beard, kid? He's like, it's a glandular problem.
my father was a giant. And then at the end of the day, we'd fight every day, and so internally, I'm like being reserved. I'm like, I have so much weight on my shoulders. Also, the crown was so heavy,
Did you have to
which
fight
you
with it on?
thank God no. But wearing it for 12 hours, pretty much the
Oh,
entire day, very, very heavy. And I didn't know I had neck issues at that point. So I had to like get done and so we got to do that. And then the next year they were like, hey, do you want to be Robin Hood? And I was like, no, I do
no.
not want to be Robin Hood. And they're like, why? I was like, I'd like to be the bad guy. And they're like, yeah, I was wondering if you wanted to be the sheriff. And I was like, as long as I sword fight, I'll play anyone you want. But I will tell you, I don't want to be Robin Hood. And
Was
they're
it
like,
solely because you were had your eyes for the bad guy, or was there something specifically about that character you were just like, I don't want to touch it?
yes to both. I didn't want to be the good guy again because I felt like you have to, you're more constrained a little bit.
I can feel that, yeah.
I mean, granted, Robin Hood and King Arthur are very different characters, but I wanted to be the exact opposite of King Arthur. So being the Sheriff of Nottingham allowed me that opportunity. When I was King Arthur, I was basically Thor from Thor 1 and Thor 2. Just, oh, I don't understand what's going on. Hello, I'm King Arthur. Don't know why I'm king, but it is what it is. And I'm tired, which was true. I was actually tired, so that helped. I was
Yeah.
method for that one.
I was going to say method. Honestly, I was going to bring that up at some point. It's like, are
Yeah.
you a method actor? And if so, what is your process?
When I met the Hanging with Web show crew, I was King Arthur, and they caught me either at snack time or lunchtime, and I was just eating a whole raw potato.
That's how that's what they did.
And if you watch the video, I'm eating that potato while I'm talking. I broke interview rule number 1. Don't eat while you talk. I did not care. I was tired.
It's like, this is my props. It dresses the character. It gives him layers, like this potato. This potato has layers, like me, you know.
Cake got layers.
See,
and
they have you. Some people, they're like, they try to get you to, like, especially when you're doing auditions, like you have to imagine everything is there, and I imagine that's probably harder for some people, being able to tap into pretending that the world is around you. So I kind of wanted to ask you a bit on that, like, how hard is it for you to tap into pretending, you know, that stuff is there to interact with when you're when you're in the audition? Like, does that really throw you out of it, and you have to use a lot of your energy to hone yourself back in, or can you just easily do it?
It is difficult for me. I have a great imagination and I am able to see things, but when it's in-person auditions, I find it a little easier. I'm like, all right, like I usually just read the lines and just send the energy off the other person and do what I can to be entertaining and be true to who I am. But they'll be like, oh, use your environment, which is something that I have been really working on as of late. I still struggle because I'm like, okay, I will just make stuff up. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. Just make stuff, whatever is the environment. So in person, it's a little easier. When I'm at home, like in my studio, and I have to do everything, I have to do the lighting and the camera and set it up and make sure my frame's right and remember the lines and then read off of somebody who's on a delay from Skype or Zoom. And then also imagine what is around me. That's a lot. And I personally cannot stand self-tapes just because when I am left to my own devices, there are too many options.
So but you need that other person to, like,
I enjoy someone going, all right, look, here's a box. Don't get more than 3 feet outside the box. And I'm like, I understand everything you just said. But when it's me and it's an open world game, hashtag still haven't finished Red Dead Redemption 2 because of that. It's like, there's too much going on. It's too much. It's too much, Dad.
Just getting overwhelmed. Just getting
Yes.
completely overwhelmed. So and that's like and that's that thing. I've actually heard a lot of people have that. It's they really need to have that sense of direction, even if it's like one critique or two, like give me something, or else I'm not really going to know where to exactly tip this off, like what ledge, in order to kind of like give you something, you know, because it's just like you're kind of left at a halt, like okay, here we go.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's just
you know, like there was a monologue competition and I did two different monologues, a serious one and a comedic one. I probably filmed each one 50 or 60 times, and they're a minute. It's a minute monologue, until I got them to what I felt was right. That took 3 days and about 4 hours, which is exhausting because you're just redoing, and there's no one there to be like, oh, you were good. Oh, your eye line was good here. Oh, fix your eye line right here. It's all record, go back, rewatch, go back, line it up, record, go back, and it's just so much start, stop. Yeah. And that's why I don't like self-tapes, because it's all me all the time. And it's not like my Thor watches shows or my own gimmick stuff for YouTube, where I set it up and then I go for an hour or more, and then I cut it down into sometimes a 10-minute video, sometimes a 42-minute video. It just kind of depends on how many jokes I wrote.
Yeah. It's kind of like there's too much gold here.
Yeah. Yes. I have something that was like supposed to be a 10-minute thing, and it turned into 40 minutes. And I was like, I just have so much trimming to do with this. I don't want to. And then I took a few weeks off, came back, and I chopped it down to like 22 minutes. I was like, I can live with this.
Yeah, you got to find a happy medium.
You got to find the happy medium, but it is very difficult with self-tapes, and it is something I'm working on. And it is, once I get it, it'll probably all change again, and I'll have to learn something new, because that is exactly how it works. Yeah. 2020.
My question is, I'm wondering, now that you say, like, you know, that being the example of you doing your self-tapes and then taking something that's a minute long and then going like 50 to 60 times, like over and over again with it, is that maybe because, like, you know, you're your biggest critic in a way, so it's just like you personally are always going to find something that, like, I feel like I could have done better? Like, how are you with your own criticism?
I am such a dick.
Fair.
I genuinely hate everything I do. Like, I do it and go, I don't know if any of this is good. And that is how I've ended almost everything I record for my YouTube stuff. You know, when it's just me, I get done, I'm like, I have no idea if any of this is good. We'll find out in a day or two when I go through and edit it. And then normally there's a couple things in there where I'm like, that is insane. Why would I do this? Obviously that makes if it's outlandish, it makes the cut. If it's too tame, it doesn't make the cut. And I'm basically just judging on my own sense of humor. So if I can laugh, because I've caught myself before just skimming, and I'll stop on something, and then all I can do is laugh for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, that is so unequivocally stupid. Yeah, that's the gold. That's my little clip for the week. That's it. I know it is.
Yeah, it's like once you're like, you have that moment of like, screw it, I just want to see what everybody else thinks.
Exactly.
You know? Like, leap of faith on that one.
There's certain things where I'll plan a joke here and there, but because of improv, I'll go in, and if I think of something on the spot, I'm going to say it, which is why, you know, these Thor Watches Mandalorian season 1 videos, I averaged about an hour of film. You know, I think I'll have on average about 3 to 5 pages of what I'm going to say. And it's just one-liners for the most part. Every now and then I write a couple actions in there, like eyes wide here, cry here. I don't cry there. I did cry, actually. I turned on the actual episode so I could cry at Baby Yoda.
Can you cry on command?
Absolutely. I can cry on command when I'm making a joke that I'm crying.
I love it.
But I cannot cry on command when I'm not making the joke. Like, if I pretend to cry and I'm like, oh my God, why did you say that? And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually crying. What the hell? And then when I need to cry, I can't cry. It's wild. It is the exact opposite of what it should be. But It is
Because your
what
brain knows, oh, they're gonna get a kick out of this, and then it's just like, let's go.
Yeah, I suppose. I think what happens is when I'm doing comedy, I'm a lot less dehydrated for no reason other than my body doesn't freak out as much.
Hmm.
I'm going to use that excuse.
Yeah. Use that excuse. No, it's perfect because when you get nervous, your mouth gets dry and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
you're in your natural element. So clearly there's no like dry mouth and everything. So you
Yeah.
got moisture in you. So where does it got to go? Out the eyes. There you go. It's the simple solution.
I'm leaking from the eyes.
He's like, and I'm tingling inside. All that stuff.
Max, I love ya.
That's it. Hold on. This is a good. I've actually never bothered to ask anybody this. So if you've looking into Jim Carrey's The Grinch and everything, his process of like he would be in the chair like getting into makeup and stuff excessively for like God knows how many hours. If you were ever proposed like a role, but it would require you to be in a makeup chair at the beginning and end of the day for like 6+ hours, would you do it?
Yeah, it depends on the role for sure.
Well, you're in full body makeup, so it's got to be something elaborate and amazing, right?
Well, yeah, that's very true. It also depends on the like when I say the role, I mean what the character is. Like if it's over the top, let's do it. Why not?
I'll polish up the situation for you. You're read for the role. It is definitely. It's like I want to see this me be this guy on screen. But and everything about it was like great. This is going to be awesome. It's going to be an amazing experience. But then they told you, yeah, makeup is going to be 6 hours to put on and about like 4 hours to take off every day. Are you going to be like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll do it because that is overtime, baby.
Overtime. Some people, you'd be surprised. Some people, they're just like, I don't know if I can deal with that, and they steer away from it. But I feel like in this certain sort of business, you just gotta be like, you know what, this is an experience, man. Let's see what it's like to get like covered head to toe.
I mean, I have done the Grinch actually for a what is it? Come on, words. A costume company that entertains kids. They asked me to be the Grinch, and I shaved my face for the first time in 7 years. When I did it, it was very cold. It was in December, or maybe
you're wearing all that. You're wearing all that fur, so you should be keeping warm, right?
Oh, I was very warm, but my face was still cold under the paint, under all of it, because it had not seen the sun in 7 years. Especially when I had to shave my mustache. That was the one that hurt. I was like, oh, my chin's cold, but whatever. And then I shaved my mustache, and I was like, I'm never shaving my mustache again unless I absolutely have to.
That's a big thing too. A lot of people don't realize is like when you get into the realm of acting, how much you have to do to your physical appearance if you want to role. Like some people, it's like, say if you have your luscious hair, and they're like, yeah, if you want this role, would you be willing to shave your head?
I won't lie. Not unless I'm getting well compensated for it, because this is my look. This is my brand.
That's where you draw the line, right there.
That is the line, because then I have to entirely change my, like, what I'm Samson. When I cut my hair, I do change because I look more serious, so I feel more serious, and then I act more serious, and that's boring. But
when you cut your hair,
when I cut my hair, because I had long hair in high school, and then after my freshman year of college, I cut it. And then I had short hair for the rest of college and was a serious human being, and people took me serious, and that was boring. And then I wore a wig, and it cut my forehead open. I was like, growing the hair back out, never doing this again. And I grew my hair back out, and I'm like, yeah, this is definitely who I always saw. This is exactly what I planned to look like when I was 7 years old. Because my dad looked basically like this, but he had less. His hairline was a little worse, but he wore hats longer than I did. So
that's the effect.
That is the effect. Right, I'm catching up. I won't lie. I'm very swiftly catching up to him.
You got that dad look. You're like, I'm doing this for you, man.
I did something one day. I was like, oh, do you see my head? He's like, yeah, your hairline it's getting bad. And I was like, you dick. Oh, that's not, I'm talking the color difference because of my hat.
You just look at him and go, don't do that. Don't do that right now. Don't do that to me.
Yeah. I mean, and that he started laughing. He's like, oh, and I was like, man, now I know how you used to feel. I'm sorry for being such a dick growing up. And he's like, yeah, you did make fun of my hairline a lot. I was like, yeah, well, you look like Sasquatch from Jack Link's Jack Link's beef jerky.
And he's like, now's not the time. Okay, we're having a moment. Don't ruin it. It's like, sorry.
You made fun of me. I make fun of you. I forget how.
This is what we agreed upon. So I thought you signed the waiver. I don't know. Excuse me, but that is Colin. We're gonna answer Colin's because I feel like he was up last time. Oh, Terry. Why did I say? Oh, because I was reading Colin Farrell. Oh my God, it's you, Colin Farrell.
Oh my God, Colin Farrell. The Penguin's here?
Oh yeah. Ooh, I want to talk about that at some point. That'd be awesome. Colin Farrell was discovered as an understudy while standing in for a lead actor in a stage play. Have you ever had a good timing or luck when it comes to getting a part? I think what Terry means is like, have you ever gotten a role without auditioning for one?
Oh, yes. I've gotten a few roles without auditioning for them. I either know I have a friend in the production who's like, oh, we have this small thing. You mind coming in? I'm like, yeah. But yeah, actually, that's in terms of good timing and good luck. The Western that I just filmed in Texas, my first feature film, Corsicana, excuse me.
I'm glad you said it because at certain point when we start wrapping this up, I was going to bring it up, but now I know how to say it.
Corsicana.
You say it with a southern drawl. You go, I come from Corsicana.
Oh, you want me to be like gruff Western man?
Be gruff Western.
I come from Corsicana.
Now, this is going to be an audition now. Now, can you please deliver that line, but as a father who's trying to emotionally open to his son, but his emotional side is hard to see. Like it's kind of hard to stomach. It's a little bit embarrassing.
You mean do that? Be like my father? Yes, I can.
I mean, if you would, thank you.
I come from Corsicana. It's a place, a bad place, where bad things happen. But I don't want to talk about that. I love you, son.
Dad, you've never talked to me like this before, and he's like, "What is like? You've never opened up to me like this before." He's like, "Well, I just want to say that I love you." Oh God, sorry.
I didn't realize I was supposed to make jokes at the end. Damn it! I missed the opportunity.
You just got to go for it, man. You just got. It's like the SNL skit where it was like a Boston family gathering, and it's like the daughter's getting married, and all the men of the family have to go up and give a speech, and they're so manly they can't accept their emotions. So the dad's like, I'm a cop, but coming home every night and seeing my little Shauna's face. The greatest thing in the world is having a daughter. Sorry. It throws you out of it. The juxtaposition is so great. It's hilarious.
I'll have to check that one out. It sounds familiar, but everything sounds familiar these days. But for Corsicana, I don't know why I'm saying it. I'm so in my head about how to say it now. Damn.
That is right, though. Corsicana.
Corsicana, but it sounds so weird when I say it. It's just like I think I'm putting the emphasis on a different letter than everybody else did there. Anyways, back to the plot. I got that role because my talent manager, Anne-Marie Crouch, she knew someone in the production, and she got a few people roles, and she messaged me on a Monday. If I'm not mistaken, it was a week or so before I was going to leave. It was going to be the week before I left. I found out on a Monday. I ended up leaving the next Monday. I was supposed to leave Friday. So I was like, I have 4 days before I go to Texas. And I also have to move in right before I go to Texas. So I didn't audition for that role. And I was granted the blessing of being a part of that production. And as soon as I got there, because it's the movie industry, creative differences occurred. And there was a shuffling of stuff behind the scenes. And the entire script ended up getting rewritten on the fly because of creative differences. And so I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm the only person from my area that was supposed to be in that film that actually stayed in that film.
Really?
Really. And I could be wrong about that. I've not yet asked because there's been so much going on since I got back in town that I've had to I got back and I moved all my stuff in, and then I had 2 weeks to clean it up before my family came up here for my birthday, which was last week. So I was like, I have been grinding since the end of August, and I'm like, how are we in October right now?
It just breezed right by. Time does not even exist.
Time is so relative that September is both the longest and fastest month of the entire year.
I can feel that.
And so I got incredibly lucky. And not only that, but because of the things getting changed, how I intended to play the role was, I mean, I can only be me. And I prepared for a few different ways to take the character that I was. Mm-hmm. And the director ended up just being like, I want you, you know, it's like this. And I was like, oh, so all that prep I did that I needed, that I was worried about, goes right out the window because I'm going to play it exactly how I intended already. So I got very lucky that way. Mm-hmm. And then they just kept adding stuff because as they were changing the script and we were having to fix things on the fly, I end up, you know, trying to avoid spoilers. I get to use a gun.
Oh, see, now I don't.
I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it there. Well, I was going to say a bunch of other stuff because it's wild. And I have so many great behind the scenes photos that I am going to wait until the movie comes out because they're glorious.
Which, hold on, speaking of which, actually, I was going to bring this up. I actually was following you on Instagram, which I recommend everybody. Please go follow Thomas here over on Instagram. It's a fun time. But you released a picture of you on set with, I believe it was like one of those cool pack things where it's like they pump cool water around you so you can like stay not dehydrated and die of heat exhaustion. Am I correct?
No, that is
what
not.
Was it?
That was special effects.
Was it squibs?
It was squibs.
Interesting.
It was my first time with squibs, and I was so freaking excited to use them. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I was the first one on the set on the film to actually have the squibs done. So I was not only the first on the set to, you know, do it in the production, because like the day after I left, everybody else was being squibbed up, and I was like, nice. But it was also my very first time, so I have a lot of behind the scenes pictures of me and videos of me with my pants down while they're taking hoses and putting them into my pants and like so that they're hidden and getting my pants. And we had to like use a safety pin to get my pants to stay. It was fun. It was so much fun.
Did you have so more excitement than fear? Because I would imagine some people that have to probably deal with like using the squibs are like, something on my body's about to explode and I'm a little scared. Like, did you have any sort of like? No, you didn't care. You're like, I'm ready.
I was like, how are we gonna do it? He's like, oh, CO2, and I was like, whatever. I'm not worried. I was like, I think there was at one point they were discussing having there's another way of doing a squib, and I can't remember it, but it involves more explosion. Like it creates a larger explosive effect coming out. And they were talking about that, and I was like, ooh, that's wild. And he's like, we're going to do CO2. And I was like, okay, now it's less wild. That makes sense to me. I understand the physics of that. I will be completely okay. My only goal was not bend the hose while walking to set.
You just barrel body.
Oh,
no, I'll get there.
Because they had to hide the hoses down one leg because they were long, and I had to basically Vincent D'Onofrio from Men in Black, when he's the roach, when the roach is the bug, and he's sugar water. When he's walking, he's got this weird thing. I had to walk exactly like that.
It just the spine completely locks in. You just kind of have this waddle.
Yeah, and I had to swing my leg like it was. I mean, I felt like Forrest Gump.
Run, Forrest!
Because I had hoses on both sides of my left knee, and I knew if I bent, it was going to break everything. So I just
that hose is like, once they kind of get the camera on, they have somebody set up and they're pumping the blood up through your pant leg into that thing.
So how they did it is we got out there, we got set up, and then they unhooked the hose, they pumped blood into the squib, and then closed it, and then the blood filled the hose. And then it's connected on my back were 2 air compressors.
And then just pang. And
then they have a button, and
And then when it went off, was it one of those things where you could feel it and it was kind of like a little bit of like a pop to the back wherever it was, or did you kind of like not even notice? Like how hard was the impact? Ooh, I think we have a frozen guest here, ladies and gentlemen. This is unfortunate. You there, Thomas? Man, right when we have 5 minutes. Let's see if we can't get Thomas back here in a sec. Hello? I can just partially hear you. Thomas, if you can hear me, re-enter the live stream. There you go. We're on our way, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you're still watching at this point, technical difficulties happen, and I'm sorry that you're just stuck with me, but we'll get Thomas back so we can hear more of these fantastic stories. I'm just going to sit here and without acknowledging it, going to buy time as much as I can, because that is what I have to do as a host. Why wouldn't things go swimmingly for me, huh? We're going to try just un momento to get Thomas back, so bear with us. But if you have more questions for him, let us know, because we're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. So, there he is. Are we alive?
We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
I'm so good. I just had to basically not freak out in front of everybody.
I could hear you the entire time. Like,
yeah, your screen just completely froze after I finished my question. I went, "Uh-oh."
Yeah,
uh-oh.
I heard. I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And I started answering your question, and then my screens went black, and I was like, "I'll just keep talking." And they're like, "I think we have a frozen guest." So the whole time, I was just being wildly inappropriate.
Perfect. Well,
I was like, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? 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 Can you hello?" Your question, squibs. I felt nothing from what I remember. It was all just CO2. At that point in the day, I'd already been shooting for like 8 hours, I think.
So you're like, I just don't even care.
I got there pretty early and I was really tired, but I had 3 like stretchy bands around my torso with air compressors strapped against my like kidneys and stuff. So I was like very stiff and very uncomfortable. So they were like, action. And it was just a close up of the location that I had the squib. So I didn't actually have to do anything but stand there really still. But as soon as they did it, I think there was like a little bit of pressure, when air goes out, obviously every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So I could feel a little bit on the skin, but I was just watching where the blood splattered. And there's actually a picture that I don't think I've posted.
I don't think you have, because I haven't seen it.
It's because I'm saving it. There's a picture. Okay. There's a picture that I received from Peter Calvin. He was our prop master, and he took a lot of behind the scenes photos. And it's in the middle of that, and you can see the blood squirting out, and it's like, yo,
action, money shot.
Yeah. We were talking about moving. I was trying to talk them into moving the camera like 2 inches away, because then they would have gotten some blood splatter on it, and they were talking about it. I was like, well, if you move it 2 inches over here, I can almost guarantee you'll get blood on it. And they're like, I don't know if we want to do that. And then they did it, and they're like, dude, you were right. That was right there. Like,
that's a good
suggestion. I try to know angles. And
I can do other things other than die. You're welcome.
Yes. Technically you see a dead body, but I could come back as a zombie. I've pitched that so hard. Just bring me back as a zombie in the sequel. And they're like, that's a whole different genre. Yeah, I know.
Please do it. I need this.
Let me
go home.
Zombie, bad guy.
Terry, this is an outrage. I paid the pricely sum of $0 to watch this quality programming. Well, Terry, you get what you pay for. That's what my dad's always told me. That's what I'm going to tell you. I want to follow up with one final question while we wrap it up here. So on the film of Corsicana, or
Yes.
Corsicana. Either way you say it, it's a fantastic film, and I look forward to seeing it when it comes out. But working with the director, which I believe is Isaiah Washington, what was that experience like? If you had to sum it up.
If I had to sum it up, energetic is a good way to sum it up. He brought an energy to set for sure, and it definitely helped actors bring out the emotion and energy that they needed in specific scenes. And it was very. I'm not sure how much of that he was planning to do already with, in terms of how he was pulling the energy. But for me specifically, it worked. Like I said, he wanted me to play it the way I was already planning on playing it.
Yeah.
So once he said, what he said, I was like, awesome. I'm just going to be me for like a couple days and get that captured on camera and try and scare my family by just looking and like showing the looks that I've given them growing up. And they're just like, oh yes, we have messed up. Ta-ta. Have a good day. See you in college.
You got to strike the fear in them. That's the key.
Basically, I like to think that every scene that I'm in, I'm just asking you with my eyes, do you feel lucky, punk?
It's like that simple, like you give him that look that just screams, you really want to do this? Like that's that's the thing. It's just like that way they go, I don't know anymore. Hold on.
I have no idea.
Pick a fight with everybody and it'll just be amazing. It's like roll camera. This is good. This is fantastic. But on that note, we're going to have to wrap it up here. So I'm going to leave it open to you. Is there anything you would like to plug? And I hope I hear about Corsicana and also specifically Toilet Paper Jesus, because I've been hearing a little bit about that on your social media. But the floor is yours, sir.
Honestly, I have so many different things to promote. Corsicana will be coming to a viewing option to you in the future. They just finished filming that last week, actually. So they're going to be editing and moving through the post-production process. Toilet Paper Jesus actually was just selected to Studio City Film Fest, which is based in California.
Golf clap.
So I won't even lie. I submitted it to a lot of stuff and I'd forgotten that I'd submitted it, and I got an email because normally I would do it with, a month or so away because I was trying to do it as swift as possible. And they were mostly for quarantine film festivals. Because that was kind of how it was created. So it's like a niche situation. So when I got the email, I was like, oh, I totally forgot to submit it to that. Awesome. Hell yeah. What a nice surprise, which I found
wonderful news.
I think I found out like the day after my birthday or something. I was like, oh, hell yeah.
Late birthday gift.
Oh, Mom, stop it.
Aww. Love's going around.
And then Lights, Thunder, Action, my podcast with David Thompson. It's David's podcast, and I'm just there to say dumb stuff and make him laugh.
You got the sweeter part of the gig, so there you go.
I think I do the sweeter part of the gig. When we interview people, he does all the interviewing because he's a journalist, and I just sit there and go, "That was awesome."
You go. I concur.
Yes, doctor, I concur. We are live every week this Saturday, live at Harlecon 2020 2.0. Ooh, we should do. I'm a email Harley on that one. We will be reviewing The Boys season 2, and I don't know if you watched The Boys.
I do. I love it.
Oh my god! I rewatched the first 2 episodes last night. My goal was to finish it. All the 7 episodes of season 2 before Friday. I don't think that's going to happen. I do not have that much time. But I might be able to pull it off before we review season 2 on Saturday. So I want to promote that. And then the last thing that I really want to promote is one of my fraternity brothers who's still in college. He's a sophomore. His name is Trenton Boone. He's actually battling against a grade 2 tumor called diffuse astrocytoma. I got it right. I remembered. And he is going through 5 days of radiation a week and 7 days of chemo a week. I might have those reversed on which they are. I normally have my notes ready, but I was not prepared for the notes section. If you go to my Facebook page, I know, Mom, I'm sorry. I probably didn't check the email until after you guys had left, knowing me. But if you check my my Facebook page, Thomas Carter Rochester -actor, you'll be able to find some of that information. If you go to my Instagram page at Thomas Carter Rochester, all one word, no hyphens, no spaces, his GoFundMe link is in my bio. So if you click on that link, you can go and help donate. Or I understand that not everyone can donate. If you can share it, we'll be able to help Trenton out and his family. He found out in June that he had a brain tumor on his brainstem. He had surgery, and then he found out rapidly that his health situation. He jumped right in to doing chemo and radiation, and that is my goal for October, is to get as many eyes on that cause as possible, because I mean, I can't genuinely imagine what his family is going through, and finances are tough, especially in COVID 2020. Yep. So, anything that we can do to help is 100% what I think we should do. And if that's all you can do is share, then 100% you'll be able to share, and you'll be able to help.
And I would just like to speak for everybody here at Nerd Culture that we would like to also, this is first news for us, we would also like to have that information, because we would like to share it out to our fans as well, allow it to reach to as many people as possible. So if you can, guys, to donate or share, any action helps. So we'll make sure that we have the proper ways to be able to get you guys to get over to that information. I appreciate you bringing that up, and I appreciate you being here, Thomas.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is like my first week back into, the podcast world, because I was in Texas, didn't take my mic, so I messed up there. The Wi-Fi wasn't good, so I would have struggled anyway.
They just expect you to do things all outdoors. All right, they're not internet people out there. It's like, here's a stick and a rock, go.
Oh man, I have so many stick and rock games. There's so many things. There's so many things you can hit while throwing it.
When the apocalypse happens at the end of this year, you'll be ready. It's like, I don't need the internet.
I have a rock and a stick. I can make all of the weapons. But thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I've spent so much time cleaning my house that now I have to record in my house, finally.
And now it's time to get back to the good old grind, just like we're all trying to do.
Oh, but yes.
On that note, Thomas, once again, I'm going to thank you for taking the time to do this with me. I really loved it. I loved talking to you about this stuff, because I have a passion for it in my heart. I hope we get to do something like this in the future. Again, I don't care if it's this or anything else, though. There's a season 2 of The Boys thing. Keep me updated on that, bud, because I definitely want to know what's up, because I have a lot of thoughts on that.
We might have to have you on Saturday then.
You know what? I might be willing. Good sir. But on that note, guys, I want to thank you once again for tuning into Nerd Culture. I've been your host, Travis Troller. You can't really follow me anywhere, because I'm going to be honest, I'm not too much of a social media guy, but you can follow Nerd Culture at It's Nerd Culture on all forms of social media, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. We'll probably put a little bit of a link out on our Facebook and on our Instagram for the donations that we were talking about. So make sure to keep an eye out for those and help any way you can. Once again, I want to thank Thomas for being here, and take care, guys. I hope you enjoyed.
We love you.